Have you ever noticed that in Euphoria, the calmest moments are always the most dangerous? Because episode 7 doesn't begin with screaming, violence, or chaos. It begins quietly, too quietly, and that's exactly what makes this episode terrifying. From the very first minute, you can feel something horrible is about to happen. Every conversation feels like goodbye, every smile feels fake. And by the end of this episode, one major character's story comes to a shocking and brutal end. Before we break everything down, subscribe right now because the Euphoria finale is about to change everything, and you do not want to miss the full ending explanation when it drops. Now, let's get into episode 7. Because this episode was pure anxiety from beginning to end. The episode opens with Ollie's backstory, and honestly, these scenes hit hard emotionally. We've always known Ollie had a dark past, but episode 7 finally shows just how broken he used to be before sobriety. We see him cheating on his wife, destroying his family, using drugs constantly, and becoming someone even he couldn't recognize anymore. There's this heartbreaking scene where Ollie looks at himself in the mirror after waking up in a hospital, and you can see the shame all over his face. The reason these scenes matter is because the show is secretly comparing Ollie to Rue. Ollie became a monster because of addiction, and now Rue is walking down the exact same path. And that's one of the biggest themes in this episode. Are people actually capable of changing, or are they trapped repeating the same mistakes forever? Meanwhile, Rue is acting completely different after her vision in episode 6. She genuinely believes she survived for a reason. But instead of making her careful, it makes her reckless. And that is terrifying. Rue starts moving like someone who thinks she can't die. The danger with people like that is they stop fearing consequences. Rue decides to manipulate both Laurie and Alamo at the same time, which is honestly one of the stupidest and most dangerous things she's ever done. Every scene with Rue in this episode feels intense because one wrong move could get her killed instantly. On the drive to Laurie's house, Rue smashes her own face to make it look like she's been beaten. Think about how insane that is for a second. She hurts herself without hesitation because she believes she's smarter than everyone around her. But the problem with confidence is that eventually it turns into arrogance. And Euphoria loves punishing characters the second they think they're untouchable. At the same time, Cassie's storyline becomes darker than ever before. She thinks deleting her online account will finally help her start over, but instead her entire life begins collapsing. She loses opportunities, people stop supporting her, and even Lexi humiliates her professionally. You can tell Cassie is trying desperately to convince herself she's okay, but mentally she's falling apart. Sydney Sweeney's performance here is honestly incredible because Cassie looks exhausted all the time, like she hasn't slept in weeks. And then there's Maddy. Maddy spends most of this episode pretending she's moved on from Nate, but you can tell she's still emotionally trapped by him. Every time his name gets mentioned, her entire mood changes. What makes episode 7 so interesting is that it forces Cassie and Maddy into the same nightmare together. These two characters have spent the entire series fighting each other because of Nate, but now they're both about to realize something horrifying. Nate's destruction affects everyone around him. Now let's talk about Nate because this episode finally destroys the illusion of control he's had since season 1. All season long, Nate has been slowly falling apart. First his injury, then the debt problems, then his panic attacks. But episode 7 is where everything finally explodes. Nate owes dangerous people money, and now there's nowhere left for him to hide. The tension surrounding Nate in this episode is insane because viewers know something bad is coming, but the show keeps delaying it just enough to make you nervous. Every Nate scene feels uncomfortable. Every phone call sounds threatening. Every silence feels dangerous. And then suddenly, he disappears. At first, nobody knows where Nate is. Cassie panics. Maddy starts asking questions. But the episode keeps cutting between different storylines, making viewers wait longer and longer for answers. That suspense is what makes episode 7 feel so stressful. You know something horrible has happened, but the show refuses to reveal it immediately. Then we finally discover the truth. Nate has been kidnapped. And not just kidnapped, buried alive underground inside a coffin. That reveal is absolutely horrifying. The cinematography during this sequence is unbelievable because the audience experiences Nate's panic with him. There's barely any space inside the coffin. Dirt is falling everywhere. The only thing keeping him alive is a small pipe allowing air to enter. For the first time in the entire series, Nate has absolutely no control over his situation. And honestly, that's the real punishment. Nate spent years manipulating people, intimidating people, threatening people, and making everyone around him feel powerless. But now he's the helpless one. He can't fight back. He can't escape. He can't even move properly. The symbolism here is crazy. The coffin basically represents all the damage Nate caused finally closing in around him. Every lie, every manipulation, every act of violence. It all leads to this moment. But Euphoria somehow makes the situation even worse. Cassie discovers clues about Nate's location and desperately tries finding him before it's too late. And what makes these scenes emotional is that despite everything Nate has done, Cassie genuinely wants to save him. She still loves him in her own toxic way. Meanwhile, Maddy joins the search too, and suddenly these two girls who hate each other are working together because a human life is at stake. And then comes the moment nobody will forget. Cassie and Maddy finally open the coffin, but instead of relief, they find horror. A rattlesnake is inside the coffin with Nate. The scene becomes pure nightmare fuel. Nate is already trapped underground, terrified and running out of oxygen, and now there's literally a deadly snake inches away from his face. You can feel the panic through the screen. Every movement becomes dangerous. Every breath feels heavy. And before anyone can save him, the snake bites Nate. The shocking part is how quickly everything changes after that. Nate tries to stay calm, but you can see fear take over his face almost instantly. This is the same character who spent 3 seasons acting fearless, and now he's completely powerless. What makes this death so symbolic is that Nate doesn't die from revenge or violence. He dies because fate finally catches him. Nature itself becomes the thing that destroys him. Throughout the series, Nate acted like the predator, but in the end he becomes prey. And when Cassie finally opens the coffin completely, Nate is dead. The silence during this scene is terrifying. No dramatic music. No emotional speech. Just pure shock. Cassie completely breaks down emotionally while Maddy stands frozen, unable to process what she's seeing. And this is where the episode becomes emotionally complicated, because Nate is a terrible person. He hurt so many people throughout the show. But Euphoria forces the audience to ask an uncomfortable question. Does anyone deserve a death that horrifying? That's why the scene works so well. It doesn't feel satisfying. It feels tragic. At the same time, Rue's storyline becomes even more dangerous. Laurie starts realizing Rue may be lying, and suddenly the tension becomes unbearable. One of Laurie's people grabs Rue and stabs her hand, sending Rue into complete panic. The violence happens so suddenly that it shocks you. And the scary part is that Laurie still feels calm during all of it. She never raises her voice. She never looks angry. That calmness makes her even scarier. Rue realizes she's trapped between 2 criminal worlds that are ready to destroy each other. But instead of backing away, she keeps pushing deeper into danger. You can tell the show is building towards something catastrophic for Rue in the finale. The episode's final scenes are emotionally devastating because every character feels broken in different ways. Cassie is shattered after seeing Nate die. Maddy realizes revenge never gave her peace. Rue is losing touch with reality. Ollie sees too much of himself inside Rue, and the audience is left wondering who survives the finale. That's what makes episode 7 one of the best episodes Euphoria has ever made. It's not just shocking for the sake of shock. Every storyline is about consequences. The show spent years building these characters, showing their flaws, their addictions, their toxic relationships, and now all of it is finally exploding at the same time. And honestly, the scariest part is that episode 7 feels like the calm before the storm, because the finale is now set up perfectly for complete chaos. Rue still owes dangerous people. Cassie is mentally destroyed. Maddy is caught in criminal drama, and Nate's death is going to change everyone forever. The question now is simple. Can any of these characters actually survive themselves? Because Euphoria has always been a show about self-destructs, about people making choices they know are bad for them, about chasing love, drugs, validation, or power even when it ruins their lives. And episode 7 proves that eventually, every bad decision comes back. The finale is going to be insane. So if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe right now, turn on notifications, and comment below. Do you think Rue survives the season 3 finale? Or is the show building toward a tragic ending for her too?